So, Alan, how do I begin a Pokemon card selling business when I have no Pokemon cards? You could also say the same thing for Magic the Gathering, sports cards, whatever it is. Maybe you're like me and you want to start a business and you don't have a supply of cards already ready at your disposal. If so, this is for you. And even if you do have cards already, you've been an avid collector for a long time and you're trying to sell some of your collection off to other people, this is also going to be something that if you continue to resell and you sell your product, whether it's on TCG Player or eBay or other sites like those, you're going to need to lean into what we call sourcing cards. How are you going to continue to add to your inventory cards? You could certainly rip a lot of packs, but that's one way to turn $100 into $10 if you'd like. But if you want to take less risk, buy people singles at a percentage of current market price and then relist those online to make a little bit of that profit, that margin, this video is for you. And so the concept is that whenever you're buying someone's cards, you're trying to kind of get that sweet spot of 60 to 70% of current market value. Now, there's all kinds of concepts about what does that market value look like? Is the set a brand new set? And that's certainly a video for another day. But in general, you can go to places like Facebook Marketplace, which is where I found the most success. And you can see people that are listing their collections. A lot of times they'll have a list of current market prices, and you can begin to discuss how you can get that price down a little bit. Now, there's also this side of the hobby that's called scalping. And scalping is really people that give the hobby a bad name. A lot of times scalping are the people that are waiting for the drops or the restocks at retail stores, and they're maybe going in and buying out tons of sealed products so that they can then immediately turn around and flip it for a profit. And that really kind of drives up the cost across the hobby because what ends up happening is then, young people, children, whatever that are wanting to buy a pack here and there, if people with grown-up money are coming in and buying out everything, that doesn't leave a lot of product for people that are just kind of dabbling or enjoying the hobby for what it is. And so certainly not advocating for scalping, and this is not that. When you're sourcing cards, when you're buying people's cards at, let's say, around 60 to 70%, you're actually providing a service to the person that's selling the cards. You're buying them and they get the cash in hand. And so they can take that cash and take their spouse out to dinner. They can pay off some bills. They can go buy something else or maybe buy more packs because they enjoy ripping them. And so you're giving them the cash. As the person that's buying the cards, you're also taking on all the risk. So if all of a sudden the prices of those cards begin to go down, and they will fluctuate as the market demands fluctuation, they're all like kind of a mini stock in the stock market, you're taking on all the risk because depending on how many cards you buy and at what cost, depending on how quickly you can get those listed at current market price, and if the market begins to cool off or go down, you're taking on that risk. And then you're also investing your time to list all of those cards and to ship all of those cards. And so you're saving the person that you're buying from time, you're saving them from the risk, and you're giving them cash in hand. So it really is a service you're providing as you're sourcing cards from people. But I do feel like there are some best practices that I've learned over the last 8 months. Certainly Facebook Marketplace is, again, where I found the most success to buy cards and to source cards and to build relationships with people that I've bought from time and time again. But I just feel like we can do it in a way that is respectful to both sides of the equation. Certainly you can go in there and you can be like, hey, I'm only going to pay you 40% or 50%. And maybe you can strong arm someone into that deal. But is this someone that you want to buy from in the future? And frankly, I want to leave the hobby in a better place than when I began to engage the hobby. And so how can we all be good stewards of that relationship between buyer and seller? So I've got a few things I've got here written down on a Post-it note that I want to share with you. Number one, always be kind. Always be kind. It's just a rule of thumb for me. When I buy from people, oftentimes I'll strike up a conversation as we're standing in the parking lot or meeting somewhere, a coffee shop or something, to look at the cards. And oftentimes people are selling their personal collection. And oftentimes it may not be just because they're wanting to rip more cards. They may have fallen onto some tough financial times. Maybe they've lost a job. Maybe they're having trouble making rent. Maybe they're out of work because of a disability. That's been a few of the stories that I've come across over the last few months as I've began to build relationships with people through Facebook Marketplace. Maybe they're selling it for their kids and they're trying to get some money for their kids because their kids have another hobby they're interested in. And so, and then maybe just the golden rule is just assume the best, assuming that they're selling for the right reasons. And when you go in with that posture of gratitude and kindness, I just feel like it can go a lot farther than if you come in and you just try to squeeze the pennies out of the deal. And so I always try to approach each conversation out of respect. But that doesn't mean that I don't make the ask. So point number 2 is make the ask and let them know, hey, you've got these cards listed and I see the list that you have listed on Facebook Marketplace or wherever you've found the deal, Craigslist, whatever. And you're asking this amount for it. I'm a reseller and I'd like to get somewhere closer to 60 to 70%. Can we work on that? Can we get closer to that? Can we negotiate? And if they say no, say, hey, thanks for your time. I appreciate it. Or maybe you begin to negotiate in a kind, respectful way and it kind of goes south and you can see you're not going anywhere. Just always thank them for their time. Thank them for allowing you to take a look at their cards and for messaging you back and forth. So but you do have to at some point make the ask to ask them, are you willing to come down on your price a little bit to that respectable number of 60 to 70% so that there's enough margin that when you do sell it on TCG Player or on eBay and they take their percentage, that there is some money for you to make there. Again, you're giving them the cash, you're taking the risk, and you're willing to give the time to list them and sell them. And you should make some money from that. Maybe not get rich, but make some money. Then when you finally decide kind of negotiate a price, you want to be smart and wise, and you want to meet somewhere that's usually in the daytime that you can spend some time with the cards. So whether that's a coffee shop, a lot of the Targets up here in my neck of the woods have Starbucks or coffee shops attached to them. Maybe there's another place, but especially if you're buying from someone for the very first time, you're going to want to spend a little bit of time looking at some of the cards. Now, if you're buying 200 cards, you're not going to be able to sit there for an hour and look at the front and the back of every card under a magnifying glass. That's not realistic. But you do want to spend some time to look through, every 10th or 12th card, take a look at it, pull it out of the sleeve, take a look at the front and the back, and just make sure that they're in decent condition. You want to be in public, you want to be daytime maybe for that first one, and suggest a coffee shop. Someone that I bought from several times says that one of the things he does is the first time he buys from someone, he asks to meet at a local game shop. And that's kind of intimidating, but I feel like if there's someone trying to sell you fake cards or trying to scalp cards, that might kind of scare them off if you're willing to go to a game shop. So just something to keep in mind. I haven't done that one yet, but maybe that's something that you would be interested in doing. The next one, kind of point number 4, is to trust your gut. I bought some fake cards, and I'm going to do a whole video on that at a later time. But when I was sitting down with this person and I was looking at the cards, and I noticed there was some discrepancies in it, but I was only like 2 months into this journey and I didn't know what I didn't know. And as I began to look at the cards, it just felt off. It felt kind of, every time I would take a look at the cards just a little bit closer, he would have other cards he'd pull out and say, hey, I'll throw this card in. It's worth about this much. And I'll throw this card in, and I'll throw this card in. And it was almost like a sleight of hand magic trick that I was watching. And every time I tried to kind of look a little bit closer at maybe some of the higher value cards that looked a little odd to me, and I couldn't put my finger on why. Certainly now I can articulate why I felt the way that I did. I wish I would have trusted my gut and respectfully said, hey, I thank you for your time. This just doesn't meet the standard of quality that I want in a collection that I'm buying. I appreciate it again, and I'm just going to have to turn down this opportunity, but thank you so much. That's hard to do when you're sitting across from someone face to face, but I think it's an important muscle to grow, because as you're buying from people, certainly you're going to come across things that feel a little bit off. And if you find one fake card in a collection, you're probably going to find multiple. So that's certainly kind of a red flag to maybe step away, but make the ask, be kind throughout, but trust your gut. Trust your gut. The fifth thing I want to say is then close the deal. So let's say that you've looked at the cards, they look good, you've agreed upon a price, it's time to close the deal. Do it with respect and appreciation, that gratitude that's so important throughout the process. So make sure you close that deal. And then an optional thing that I do, if the conversation went well, it was warm, it was respectful, it was kind, I want to let them know that, hey, I'd be interested in buying from you again in the future. And so sometimes I'll say, hey, if you'll think of me every time you're about to sell some cards, I want to say yes to you every time I can. As long as I have the money in hand and I can meet you somewhere in a timely fashion, I want to buy from you as often as I can. So keep me in mind, reach out to me first. And if I have the money, I'm going to say yes to you, especially if you're looking at some cards somewhere and all of them look near mint. They're all just perfect cards. A lot of times it's people that love the ripping side of the hobby. And so they have lots of duplicates of singles that are higher value or maybe just reasonable value, anywhere from 50 cents up to $5, $10 a piece. And they're pulling multiple copies of those cards, and they don't need multiple copies. They just need one copy. And so they're willing to sell you the duplicates. And so anytime one of those folks reaches out to me, I want to be able to say yes to them as often as I can. So that's kind of it. Always be kind. Make the ask, because you're going to have to ask them if you can get a little bit better price. Meet somewhere that you feel safe, that you can spend some time with the cards. Trust your gut. If it feels off, then just respectfully decline and move on. Close the deal. And then optionally, if you want to let them know, hey, I'd love to do business with you again in the future. So that's just kind of the things I've learned in the last 8 months on this journey. And as you're sourcing cards, being here in the Twin Cities, where there's about 3 million people in the greater Twin Cities, I certainly have an advantage where the Pokemon community here in the Twin Cities is very robust and lively. There's always, I could buy tens of thousands of dollars of Pokemon cards right now on Facebook Marketplace if I had the money. But be wise, choose the right sellers, and if you can build a relationship with them where they're going to come back to you time and time again, or as you're getting down in inventory, making a list of them. I have a document in my Google Docs where I basically have all of their names and how I can reach back out to them. And I'll say, hey, I'm running low on inventory. If you've got some cards you'd like me to think about buying from you, if you'd send them over, I'd appreciate it. And I can get business that way as well. So build a relationship, be kind, be respectful, leave the hobby better than the way that we found it. And I think that that's going to serve you well in the long run. Well, hey, here's a couple of video suggestions for you, and I would love to see you subscribe. So thanks again for being here. I'm, again, going to plan on making these videos as often as I can, at least once a week. But thanks for being here. My name is Alan. This is Flip House Finds, and I'll see you in the next video.